Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another StarCraft replay cast. This is Maj coming at you over the interwaves, casting a master level game from Reddit's Castit, the subreddit where you can submit your replays and have them cast by members of the community, or if you are so inclined, check the community for any games they want to get cast and then do that like I'm doing right now. We've got a TVZ today. We have on this side is the return. We have Richardfeder. I'll be referring to as either Richard or Federer. And on this side of Orbital Shipyard, we have the blue Zerg player, the lungy. Both of these in their own little clans, nothing anyone of us has ever heard of, or maybe you have. Cloud M instead of Cloud 9, and CCTV, which is that stuff that makes sure that I put my trash away in the right bin. We've got pretty standard openings from both sides. We have one gas and one barracks on the side of the Terran for some Reaper action, and on this side we have a pool, or no, we have a hatch before pool, my apologies. Not horribly greedy, but not the fastest aggression either. And Richard on his side will expand as soon as possible as well. With neither of these players being familiar to me, I can't tell you very much about their playstyles. I can't tell you if one of them likes being aggressive. I can't tell you if they like to cheese, although there certainly doesn't seem to be any of that going around. And I can't tell you if one of these is actually a Protoss player. Do you see the Reaper going out here, and the lungy, if he is paying attention, seeing it coming his way. We've got 4 Zerglings in order to counter that, and hopefully queens at least one base. Okay, I'm gonna have to edit that out. What you didn't see, or because I edited it out, is that this just sort of froze. Anyway, we've got some Reaper to Zergling action with the queen on both sides of the Reaper, but Richard does manage to evade both of them and make his way out of the base with 17 hit points to spare and not as much scouting information as you might like, although certainly enough. A third CC for Richard. He's the one playing greedy right now. With a third hatchery for the Zerg as well, but that is mostly normal. And went out of gas in his main. Guessed or identified that there's no additional Reapers on his way. They usually do go through this field, and he would have spotted it. However, it is entirely possible that they had gone around. Lungy identifying the third. Oh, there goes the Reaper. With Zergling speed, you really can't get away from these, so that's to be expected. But as I was saying, the lungy identifying the third command center and seeing the starport on its way. No add-ons as of yet, although a tech lab being built next to it, so I suppose he could identify that it would be switched for a Banshee, but that is not the case, instead going for a Liberator and Stim being done. In the meantime, our Zerg is droning up, taking out these rocks in order to could do with an extra queen here. but doesn't really have the money to spend that much larva anyway, in order to expand to the 4th base. And in the meantime, Richard's Liberator is making his way across. We have Spore Crawler in 2 of the 3 mineral lines, and the 3rd one now getting there. And his arrival is announced with the with attacking this Overlord. And with 3 queens that close, he could actually save it if he so chooses. Yes, he does. You now have to start attacking him. There we go. So, the Liberator is spotted, and Richard knows this. Going in through the other way, deciding to leave this Overlord alone. And the lungy does identify this in time, but still has to clear out his mineral line, which to me, which is not nearly as good of a player as either of these, as I am not in Master League, a giant pain in the ass. And even the lungy still makes a mistake putting 6 workers in the Vespine Geyser. Does have quite a bit more workers than his opponent, but Richard does have a lot of mules to make up for it. In the meantime, it appears that Lungy is going for a melee-centric build, taking a 4th at the same time. With, wait, where is this happening? Oh, over there. So we have melee attacks and armor being researched, not joining up his creep, which, if you've seen one Liberator, although I suppose if your opponent commits 2 Liberators, that would have been something that to see more than just the one by now, is nice to have your queens walking back and forth. And now also Richard taking out those rocks. Ooh, and a spire. In order to reach a 4th base, although he has not yet started building his 4th command center that I can tell. We got 2-2 started for the Zerg, and in the meantime we have 1-1 for the Terran. And do we have an armory somewhere? There we go, it's being built right now. Richard Feynman, Feder, Thingy, Dude, moving out, almost overextending with his medevacs. In the meantime, there is an awful lot of banelings waiting for him. And if Richard correctly identifies this, he will get the fuck out and back to his mineral lines, his widow mines. But it does appear that the lungy has enough to clean this up. And promptly the 3 medevacs supporting this push are sent back packing. The 4th command center started in the meantime, and we have still quite the army supply for Richard's Feder back there. Ooh, and a quick, although we still call this quick, 5th hatchery for the lungy. And spreading his creep quite nicely. Still has a widow mine here, which can cause some uncomfortable surprises for the Zerg, and I suppose gives the Terran a bit of vision if he's at all lucky. Ooh, and the lungy spots this drop. How could he not? He built a spire, but are there any mutalisks? No, there are 3 corruptors. Okay, in order to stop this, I was going to say. Ooh, nearly gets them with... In case I edit this out later, that was a sneeze, a rather loud one. So if there was a momentary silence there, that was me. 2-2 on the way for the Terran, and Hive for the Zerg, so he can start his 3-3 soon. And his creep spread is quite impressive, I have to say. And I like focusing on creep quite a bit myself, but I don't get it 2/3 of the way across the map by 9:30 at all. So far, no attack made on the 4th, and as I say that, he sent some Zerglings out. And all these Zerglings are going to be blasted by the Widow Mines in position to deal with this. And 2 Zerglings do still beat SCVs quite handily. Until, that is, the Planetary Fortress finishes. 2 Zerglings, 2 Zerglings, and 2 Zerglings. And nevertheless, that made it so that an additional 3 SCVs survived. Getting the drilling claws. So it would appear that Richard is sticking with his Widow Mines, and the lungy is throwing away quite a few Zerglings there, or not. He tried to peel them off in order to attack somewhere else, but instead walk through the meat grinder. Richard, in his turn, is now... Oh, look at that surround. Look at that surround. We'll look at the creep spread later. This is a lovely surround on the part of the lungy. And with the corruptor in play, takes out most of the medevacts, but enough of the bio does remain in order to clean this up. And if... Ooh. The lungy... Ooh, getting adrenal glands. Morphing new banelings if he so chooses, but does let a small squad of marines up towards his 5th, but does take out this set of marines and the Thor quite nicely, and that squad going after the 5th is murdered brutally as well. 4 kills on this Widowmine, and is there any detection? There is 0 movable detection on the part of the lungy, which can really come back to bite him in his ass later, I suppose. Ooh, that's quite nice, clearing up the banelings. But at this point, we have the Zerg on 5 bases, and he must be feeling quite a bit more comfortable. Look at that. This is creep right up to the 4th, but he didn't go up here, so he couldn't deny this 5th on the part of the Terran. So he must be quite comfortable trading out, or at least a lot more than Richard is. In the meantime, we have chitinous plating and ultralisk on the way. We already have 1, we have another 2 on the way, making 3, and Terran has a lot of problems in the current metagame with Ultralisk. Not quite knowing how to deal with it. There's people building Thors, there's a lot of people in professional play building Ghosts, and we see... How many Ghost Academies do we see? 0. Do we see 0? We see 0. Some people using Liberators, and an additional starport coming in. How many workers were that? 15. There were some workers killed earlier as well. He did manage to peel off quite a few there as well. But a Terran with 68 workers replenishes that quickly enough. Should get back to actually finishing... Oh, continue spreading here. To actually finishing that command center, though. That would be quite useful. We have an attack coming over the eastern side of the map, but the lungy carelessly flying his corruptors in order to sacrifice this, but it is of no use with, what is that, 5 ultralisks and zerglings in order to hold the marines in place, and the corruptors in order to brutally kill any medevacts. This army of Richard is crushed once again, and now we have Zerg in his base, on his production, and using this lovely new thing, which is called caustic spray. I have to look it up because I never use it, in order to just murder that command center. Now there wasn't much income left here, but there's not much income here and here either, so this hurts an already struggling in a financial way Terran. Here we see why Liberators are sometimes used against Ultralists, because they care not for your armor, which is 8, and kill them anyway. But it is enough